Hello friends, it's been a while since I made a video, at least for this channel.
Where the hell have you been?
I've gotten a little busy and caught up in whirlwind for 4 collectors lately.
There's no excuse.
There seems to be a little excitement around my 5 cards everyone should own video series that has gotten me excited. So with that though, I have a lot of catching up to do, a lot of things to show, including a collection of cards that I own that I have never revealed that I own it before. So
this should be very exciting.
So you got to stick around and check that out.
Do I have to?
Hello friends, I am John and I am the 3D 80s kid. So in the duration of this video, I am going to attempt to respond to 6, yes, you heard it, 6 different call-outs around the community.
I think it's ambitious.
No.
And I am late for 5 out of those 6.
Better late than never.
So no prizes for John this time, so that's okay. We'll be all right. But
Citizens do not accept prizes for being citizens.
so, let's get this thing started. Congrats to RJ Collect Sets. I know it's a little late for your VR prize contest, etc., but I did want to give you props as a great guy in the community. Congratulations on reaching 500 subscribers. I know that's a cool milestone to reach. And wanted to respond, regardless of the fact that it's too late to win. You asked us to name players that are kind of forgotten from our favorite team, as well as then recognize some channels that they have the same favorite team as well. And I grew up as an Atlanta Braves fan.
Superstation WTBS presents America's team, the Atlanta Braves.
Even though, despite the fact that I lived in the south part of the Bay Area Peninsula in California, and it was my first 2 Little League teams I was on were the Braves on my uniform, and so I started watching them on TBS, and I was hooked. So with that, forgotten player, he was actually my second favorite player on the team at the time, with the star being Dale Murphy. But the position I played in Little League was second base. So my second favorite player on the team was Mr. Glenn Hubbard, who has this famous card with the snake and even the Philly fanatic in the background, as it's clearly here at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia where this shot was taken. And teammates just threw this snake. I don't know why there was a snake on the field on his shoulders before they snapped this photo of him. And became a classic card in 1984 Fleer set here for Glenn Hubbard. And the special story I have with Glenn is that he is the only Major League Baseball player I ever had a direct conversation with. As I was attending a Giants game against the Braves. My parents took me to see them specifically, with the Braves being my team. I've got this, still have the souvenir scorebook from that game. And by using the internet now, I was able to uncover the fact that the ball game we went to, thanks to myself filling out the scorecard and keeping score of the game, I did figure out that the game I saw was on Tuesday, June 5th, 1984, which was the day I spoke directly to Glenn Hubbard, as in, it was before the game. I went down close to the field and was trying to get autograph. Of course, my dream would have been to get Dale Murphy, who everywhere he walked around the outside at that point. That was, 84, that was after his back-to-back MVP seasons, so he had fans all over the country who were clamoring to meet him, and he was swarmed by people on the sides of the field wherever he was walking. And as a result, he came nowhere near me, but I was close enough to the dugout that I leaned over and peeked in, and I saw Glenn Hubbard sitting there by himself, just on the bench. And I was a very shy kid, so it even shocks me to this day that this story is true, because I interrupted him sitting there by leaning over and shouting, "Hubbard!" And he looked right at me and popped up and jumped out of the dugout. I don't think he was used to people shouting his name like that, being as that, he was he was a starter at that point at second base, but he wasn't exactly a star player at any point in his career. He was a very good fielder, but pretty mediocre as far as a hitter goes. And he came over and he talked to me, and he was a really nice guy. And I, at the time, did not have a card for him to sign because my mom had said I can't bring my cards with me because I'm just going to lose them. I, of course, am bitter to this day because I was fastidious about things and I was not going to lose them. Although I do have a story that I won't repeat in full of losing a retainer at a restaurant, which my parents strongly regret as they had to find it then in the garbage.
Good God, I didn't need to hear about that.
But let's get back on track here. And so I didn't have the cards with me. I ended up he ended up signing on the roster area of the scorecard here part with that is Glenn Hubbard. And in addition, just randomly walking past was another player, and he pulled him over and he had him sign for me. And then by the looks of it, it is Randy Johnson. Not that Randy Johnson that you first think of, as this was 1984. That was not, and he had nowhere near the Braves or Giants as a team at that point of his career. I know he was briefly at the Giants near the end of his career, but it was Randy Johnson, the utility middle infielder. So whoopity-doo. But with that being said, I have told that story before to happen to be Dave Legends of the Dugout, and since he actually had done TTM to Glenn, he was nice enough to send me this autographed card. So I do now have an autographed card of Glenn Hubbard, the only Major League Baseball player that I had a conversation with. I was super nervous. I don't even know what we said back and forth, but he was a really nice guy, is what I do have memories of. So Glenn Hubbard there is a personal connection story. And since I have two cards then that I've shown, let's name two channels that are out there that are Braves fans. Let's go with one being Carlisle Rude, who has got an awesome collection of where he is collecting every Braves card ever made throughout history. Just spectacular. And I guess for this autograph card, let's mention Adam's Card Closet, as he has one of the most extensive Chipper Jones autographs collections probably of anywhere out there. So, have yourself a Chipper day, Adam. So, and with a very similar VR that I am also too late to win any prizes would be Mark at Mark's Dodgers Cards. And he asked us to name a Hall of Very Good player from our favorite team. So somewhat similar, but, a little bit of a stronger player I think he's looking for. And I have the unfortunate thing of, I guess, naming, since he still can't get into the Hall of Fame, the only guy that comes to mind for me is Mr. Dale Murphy.
Put him in the hall.
Which, this is my most recent still pickup of Dale Murphy, this oversized card that is a Sports Illustrated test sticker that was never a fully produced set of or anything. Complete replica of the Sports Illustrated poster that hung on my wall. So
Humans, you're so nostalgic.
he wanted us, besides Hall of Very Good Players, wanted us to name 3 channels of folks that are not yet eligible for the Hall of Fame that deserve a shout out. And there are so many people that fit that category now, as I am so happy about the massive expansion of our community. It's made it to the point where I cannot watch every single person's video like I used to attempt. I can only seemingly watch a fraction of the awesome collector content that is out there in the space now. So, but regardless, let me, Theo would feel bad if I didn't mention Theo at Clemente Collector. You might have heard of the guy, maybe, I don't know.
I thought we were friends, John.
But, him and I are both going to hit the 3-year mark here later this year. So
Best friends are we.
let's go ahead and throw a shout out for a guy who should have way more subscribers because he makes content that is just not standard, and I appreciate the effort that has to go into his planning and editing and all of that, because I understand how much that work that's got to be, and that's going to be Hugo or Signs of the Pastime. his whole planning out, going on out in the away from home and getting that footage and organizing it and being ready as much as he is, it's very impressive to me. So I got to give another shout out to Hugo at Signs of the Pastime. And another person who I think doesn't get enough attention, because he doesn't necessarily collect the vintage cards so much, and he just has so much fun on that channel. But I feel the need, I want to shout him out as much as possible, is BK over at Mac Wax Stacks. So just he has all kinds of different collections that he does that are related. The master thing of everything is the Mid-America Conference, but he has the whole stashy stash thing going on with great mustache cards and just lots of fun. You got to check it out. So let's move on.
I'm driving. No, you're driving.
So BD Kane threw a question out to the community of which record you would like to see broken. Now, with my answer, I'm going to give something that I don't think is ever touchable, even if they went back to the way they used to handle the players. But I'm just going to say, I'm going to throw out there the record of Walter Johnson of 110 shutouts. Is that ever touchable, even by the old method of how they used pitchers? Probably never. But let's just throw that out there of, I would love it if pitchers actually could pitch full games, if they didn't treat them all like short relievers and have them throw out their arms and end up in arm surgery every couple of years.
Okay, boomer.
It's just, we're never going to see pitchers ever again put up stats that are at all relevant for, historical reasons again in baseball. It's the analytics folks have just destroyed pitchers in the modern game.
Get off my lawn.
And, to me, it's crazy that we see pitchers getting pulled from games with a perfect game because of pitch count.
Now that is crazy.
And you can't even have the guy have that moment of possibly getting a perfect game. It's one of the things I think really degrades from the enjoyment of, part of it for me was following the stats of the players, and pitchers are just never going to have stats again that are really something that you care about for historical purposes anymore. And I feel like it's a shame. How are these guys going to be when they're old now and having that many arm surgeries? Are they going to be functional? Are they going to still be able to use their arms by the time their careers are over if they keep going back and forth to get their arm work done? I don't know. It just doesn't seem that it's right what they're doing to them. It's clearly not natural. Otherwise, they wouldn't have to keep going in for arm surgery. So I don't know. They make an awful lot of money, I guess, to not possibly be able to use their dominant arm in their old age. So
It is a lot of money.
BDK, and you're at 900 something subscribers. If you're not aware of him, go check him out. Link will be down below. Let's try to push him up to get that magical 1K number that is a pretty meaningful number in this card space. So
Do it! Just do it!
okay, another one in line for my unanswered Too Late to Win VRs was from Sammy Thunder, who asked us to first, honor Scott over at Reindeer Studios. And as it turns out, my t-shirt that I have of Scott's, that's the 41 play ball design, is currently in the laundry basket waiting to get cleaned. So as an alternative, Sammy asked us to don the gear of our favorite team, and that happens to be my favorite team right here is Four Collectors, so I will wear that gear proudly. And I do, though, have a card that I did order alongside my t-shirt here of the artwork of Mr. Dale Murphy that I previously showed in my, unfortunately, Hall of Very Good Brave, but not a Hall of Famer. Maybe someday.
Don't hold your breath.
But, then also, along with my shirt order, I did get this cool card here that has the artwork that Scott did for this last year at Hobbypalooza, which is hosted by Four Collectors, which I think we'll be doing that again here coming up in Probably either late June or early July. I'm not sure. We haven't settled on an exact date just yet. We'll focus on planning that after we get through Strongsville here coming up. But so for my favorite oddball cards.
Hang on a minute.
But before I show you what my favorite cards are, first, let's define what is an oddball to me, which to me, I view it as going to be post-war, because you look at pre-war cards and what is mainstream, what is oddball. There is no continuous through line that lasts more than a few years of any particular company, unlike post-war, where you have a few years there of Bowman and then a long line that goes through all the rest of the history with Topps. So, as a quick moniker of something that is basically not a Bowman or a Topps card is, falls into oddball. Although I'd say 63 Fleer qualifies then more of a mainstream set, although they didn't quite get to produce all the cards they wanted to with the lawsuits and such. But, outside of that, it's not the standard Topps card or Bowman card. So, it could be even, to me, it's Topps with the funky issues they would put as inserts, or even secondary type set things with different packs that weren't the mainline Topps set. But ultimately for me, I'm not really diving in of any kind of vintage collecting like my friend Theo does. So the Topps, or the oddball cards that fit for me, for my collection, that turn out my favorites. One of them ends up being dog food. And my one example I have thus far is the George Kell of the 54 Red Heart set. Great looking set. I plan to add at some point soon. I'm down to only a few holes left in my vintage years space, my post-war vintage. And I'm going to be adding a Nellie Fox to go alongside this George Kell, because Nellie Fox would be with the blue background. I'm trying to get a good mix of variety with all the pairs I have with everything behind me.
Variety is the spice of life,
And then besides that, I'm going to go with a bread card, which would be 47 Bond Bread, my Joe DiMaggio here. That is the gloriously back-damaged one, making it more affordable, even though the back is blank. You got to love how grading works, right? So there you go, Sammy. That is my VR for you. That is also too late to win. So,
You weren't gonna win, but you would have finished.
okay, but now let's digress. Speaking of grading, what is grading? There's so much talk of grading these days, and even the hobby president keeps putting out these posts where he's sort of insinuating the grading companies are idiots, where, like, there was a Babe Ruth card where there was a surface damage right in the middle of his face. Outside of that, the card looked really nice, and he couldn't believe it got a 4 grade but that begs the question, what is grading? It is not a score of the eye appeal of the card. It is primarily a objective just breakdown of, there is this type of damage on the card and that qualifies as this grade, period. There is a little flux, I think, up or down sometimes based off of eye appeal, but it is predominantly just hardcore of, like, what are the blemishes on that card, and if they happen to be on the face, it makes you or I have no interest in that card, regardless of it being a 4. For all we care about it, the grade is irrelevant, because the main part of the card is destroyed in our eyes. And other than someone who absolutely can't afford any other copy, I can't see buying that. But because of that stupid number, somebody's actually going to pay more for it. But it is not a score of eye appeal. Get that in your head, man. It is not a score of eye appeal. It's a score of the defects, and those defects have certain thresholds at which they belong. Like, a card that is creased is going to be a 3 or less. It's just the rules of it. If it is SGC and it has paper loss or back damage, it's going to be knocked down to a 1 like this, where it's glued residue on the back, or the awesome copy I was able to get of this Ty Cobb, where because it has paper loss on the back, it drives it to a 1, even though the front is gorgeous. So, yeah, that's eye appeal does not equal grade. That's why, like, the one term that kind of annoys me too that I hear out there is a card being undergraded. That just means that those defects that got it to that grade just don't happen to distract from the eye appeal as much as potentially other cards of that grade. It doesn't mean the card should necessarily have a higher grade, because if anything, I think there's a chance where the guy misses the damage and gives it a higher score than it should, rather than him catching everything. He gets the grade per the damage that's on there, and it just doesn't distract from the eye appeal. So the card is not undergraded. The card is graded and has great eye appeal for the grade. So please stop saying undergraded out there. Please. It's not real. All right? The card got the grade based off of the defects. And if your copy has great eye appeal, it's going to still sell for higher into the range and sometimes break the top of the range if somebody wants it bad enough because it looks good enough. I paid more than the range at the time on VCP when I bought my 59 Frank Robinson up there because it's a card where I can't even tell why it's a 4. And even in hand, I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell in the pictures, and I can't tell now. And so I was willing to pay a few extra dollars because I love that 59 Frank Robinson card. And so, yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
I think it's really refreshing that you put yourself out there like that.
All right, up next in my line of already expired VRs is Brent Richards out there, who also reached the 500 subscriber milestone. Congrats, Brent. And he asked all of us to name our favorite member of the 500 Home Run Club. So to start off, I am going to first show a card that is a recent pickup. It is not necessarily my favorite card from the 500 Home Run Club, but it's an excuse to show one of my new pickups that was filling another hole I had as far as my intended completion of my Hall of Fame player project, and that would be this 1958 Topps Harmon Killebrew with the gorgeous yellow background.
And some lovely yellow.
Right here. Mr. In this case, Washington Senators, but then Minnesota Twins. I believe total of 586. Is that his career total? I'm question anything memory these days, but I used to have all these home run totals memorized and just knew them instantly. If I'm wrong, I'm probably going to throw up a correction on the screen because that's how I roll. I can't let it lie. I got to fact check myself at all times. So, but beautiful card here to join up with my Jim Bunning right above you as I see you there with the pink. So these will go side by side. Part of my whole thing of collecting 2 from every set is that I get some color variety going with all of my choices as well. So you get representation of different styles in the sets. So nice addition to my wall there. But leading in now, let's go with my favorite card of a member of the 500 Home Run Club. And thank you, Brent, for giving me an excuse to pull this card into another video. And that's going to have to be the king of all of my hobby purchases. Let's go with my 1920 W519 unnumbered version of Babe Ruth.
Flex alert. Flex alert.
His first year for the New York Yankees. This being a strip card, which is cut a little too short on the sides, making it authentic min size, but still a gorgeous copy of this one here of, the most iconic baseball player of all time. The only person that compares to him ultimately now in fame is Mr. Jackie Robinson. But, the guy that everybody knows who Babe Ruth is, or at least they should. If you're teaching your kids right, they know who Babe Ruth is.
Oh, yeah, the great Bambino. Of course.
So, these are blank back since it's a strip card. Mine's not exactly blank because it was written on a little bit by a person trying to identify the set, apparently. So, I'll still love gazing at this card every day. And thank you, Brent, for giving me an excuse to bring it into another video. So,
thank you, Mr. Richards.
And for my final VR of this video, it is for Jason, the basement card collector, who is celebrating 3 years on YouTube. Congrats, Jason. I'll be celebrating that very same milestone coming up in August of this year. But he had asked us to give a summary of what our channel is to the folks that are watching, and maybe some of the folks out there never got the full story of what's going on with what we're doing. And I guess to give you my summary, I started out originally at the time I was doing a couple of different projects. When I first started, I was collecting Willie Mays' run of cards from his playing days, at least just mostly just the mainstream Topps cards. And
Did you drop that?
I was also trying to collect, starting at that point, my collection of one card of every Hall of Famer, although it was organized around a few different sets primarily. So I had started with a love affair of 1960 Topps cards, and so I was collecting a whole bunch of folks from that set. Then I liked the 72 Topps design, and so I was collecting a bunch of different players from that year. And then earlier I chose 53 Bowman Color for another big batch of Hall of Fame cards. Ultimately, after staring at the cards long enough, I realized that not every card ends up beautiful just because it is a nicely designed set. And so I then went on a complete overhaul of my collection. I scoured TCDB, tradingcarddatabase.com, for hours and hours to try to pick what I thought were players' best looking cards, with giving priority to the more prominent players, and I've always avoided the rookie cards because I do not want the added expense of those, because that is going to impinge me from ever fleshing out everything that I possibly can. Because if I ever get to those end cards with the 1887 and 88 and all that, those are monster purchases for every single one of those guys. But I'm going to need as much funds to ever make it to that point. So but I digress here. And so I ultimately chose where I have 2 cards going that I'm trying to collect from every mainstream set of Topps and Bowman, as well as 63 Fleer. I also threw in a couple of the oddball sets there, as I showed earlier, where I had Bond Bread. I've got 2 examples of those. Eventually I will have 2 examples of the Red Heart set. And it's going then all the way through 1980 with 2 cards per year, and only getting 1 card of each Hall of Famer. So I had to work out, which Hall of Famers are in each set, at what point does their career end, so there's no choices left, and where I also capture every single player. And it took quite a bit of time. There have been a few iterations of rejiggering my choices.
All that twisting and turning.
But I think I have settled on a permanent one. Yeah, I know Theo's rolling his eyes right now, or Chris from Missouri, about me, probably changing something again. I might be forced to if future veterans committees plug in more players during the golden era, and then I'll have to figure out how I'm gonna, reconfigure things with that new player added to the mix. So, it may cause me to push some guy farther ahead if his career lasted longer. Like, I opportunistically think I might not forever chose the 72 Nolan Ryan, because his career went so long that I have so many other options later that I can push him into instead of that card if I need that spot for somebody else. So, it's where I'm trying to build almost like a history of baseball cards behind me, because now I'm delved back into pre-war pretty hardcore this last year. I'm up to 26 Hall of Famers in pre-war now, and so it's a long road. I'm putting more emphasis right now on getting the key expensive guys in pre-war as much as I can, and getting those ones knocked off first, because the marquee guys tend to be the ones that will fluctuate up higher if there's any kind of peak interest going on, rather than the more minor Hall of Fame players that seem a little bit more steady as far as prices go. So, I'm trying to save myself money long term by getting the marquee guys knocked off early on that front. So, And, besides that, I have a few little side things, as you can see right there on my screen. The Beatles cards are kind of a connection with my mom, as that was her favorite band, and she, played it often enough in the house that I fell in love with them too. And I've got a Tesla card right there that is quote unquote his first, his rookie card that has a connection to me as an electrical engineer. And I have a World War II leaders project that I did. I have a few cards that are players in Major League history with my last name, which at this point there are 3. And I have their rookie cards, which end up being a 33 Gaudy card, a 39 play ball card, and a 88 tops traded Tiffany is the example I have of the more recent guy. And then I've got, a row of cards with my favorite team, the 49ers, which I share in common with Jason. I actually sent him my copy of my Ronnie Lott rookie card because at the time when I first purchased it was in a PSA slab, and ultimately, as you can obviously tell, I've decided to go with SGC with everything. So when I decided on making that switch, it wasn't useful to me anymore in that slab, and being as how it's a cheap card, it's not worth doing a crossover. So I thought, let's send it to a guy who will like it. And so I sent that over to Jason quite a while ago, and I actually do have a few basketball cards remaining because my first year back returning to collecting as an adult was in 2021, and I did spend that first year mostly trying to collect basketball Hall of Famers. And on that front, I am going to do a little bonus of cards that nobody, I think, even knows I own.
Do we care?
Which also during that first year, I did a little side project for cheaper cards. My limit on which cards I was willing to buy of his was $10. So this entire stack was purchased for anywhere between $1 to $10 a piece. And it is a collection of, 65 cards total of Michael Olowokandi, who was the #1 draft pick in the NBA in 1998, which he was drafted out of my university, which was the University of the Pacific, which is in Stockton, California. This being a card that they issued during his senior year, which was actually a year after I graduated, and I lived the first 3 years after school close enough to where I could actually go to some of their basketball games when I wanted to. And I did attend the one here where they gave away this card here, which would be a college card here of Michael Olowokandi. And then he ended up getting drafted, unfortunately, by the where careers go to die, which was the Clippers. And I do have some of these rookies that's one of the things I found was crazy. There are potentially, if I kept going with this, that's somewhere in excess of 150 unique cards that were issued that would be rookies of him. And I have, 6 of them that are autographed that were still cost at this point $10 or less. And then another, 57 that are unautographed cards, all with a unique design appearance. It's crazy. I know some of them are sort of slight variations, kind of like you get with parallels now, but most of these are all unique designs, and it's only a few different manufacturers, so it is insane even then, back then in the late 90s, how much variety there was of cards. So there you go. Michael Olowokandi, the I guess still the most successful basketball player from my school.
That is a low bar.
As he still was able to make millions of dollars, which I don't know if he kept all of it, because I believe his ex-wife was on that reality show of NBA Wives or whatever. And
I don't know. I honestly didn't watch it.
Yeah, so she probably took him for quite a bit of money at some point. So, yeah, there you go. A collection you didn't know I had to go along with my Hall of Fame baseball collection that is my primary project. So, congrats again, Jason. 3 years. These feel like dog years, don't they? But they are a great time. So many people you meet and interact with. Yeah, I can't even imagine life without this YouTube community now. So, thanks to all of you that respond to my videos, give me comments to interact with, all the people I've gotten to meet. I just love it. So,
God, you're savvy.
all right, we made it through all those. You're still here. You're still listening.
Nobody's here.
and I appreciate that. If you could, continue on and tell me, anything you liked in the comments. I always love interacting with you. It's one of my favorite parts of making videos is getting to communicate, have a dialogue with the folks in the comments. So,
Awful pandering crap. Jeez.
everybody, I really appreciate you. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.
Well, see you next time.
Yeah, unless I get lucky and break a leg.
With the first pick in the 1998 NBA Draft, the Los Angeles Clippers select Michael Olowokandi from University of Pacific.